Real fake, real fake, real fake, real fake news.
Welcome to the Real Fake News. I'm your host, Jesse Bertel. Today I will discuss the campaign coverage of the 2016 Democratic primaries in a little game I call Real Fake News. Let's play Real Fake News. In real news, Hillary Clinton won California, or as the Washington Post put it, the day before the primary. Hillary Clinton just clinched the Democratic nomination. Here's the math behind it. Did she really? That was easy. She didn't need California after all. No need for Bernie Sanders and all his supporters to show up at the convention then, right? Not exactly. Not according to the United States government election webpage. On usa.gov/election, it clearly states, in 2016, a Democratic candidate must receive 2,383 of the estimated 4,765 delegates to become the party's nominee. Each party also has some unpledged delegates, or superdelegates. These delegates are not bound to a specific candidate heading into the national convention. So to simplify, 2,383 is the magic number, pledged or unpledged, but the unpledged don't vote until the convention. Okay, I hate math, but here we go. 2,383 for the nomination. Hillary Clinton has 2,219. Subtract, and you get 164 pledged or unpledged delegates needed to clinch the nomination. But what about the superdelegates? So again, superdelegates aren't counted until they vote. They start voting on July 25th and finish on July 28th at the Democratic Convention in Philadelphia, meaning that no one has won the nomination yet and no one will before the convention. As Bernie Sanders said, this is going to be a brokered or contested convention. This is important to note because Bernie Sanders has successfully challenged the establishment. Will he flip hundreds of superdelegates in his favor? Don't worry, the AP took it upon themselves to personally make sure that 571 of Clinton's superdelegates would remain by her side unequivocally. The Washington Post reported, the AP surveyed all 714 superdelegates repeatedly in the past 7 months, and only 95 remained publicly uncommitted. Will Bernie Sanders win the nomination? Apparently the media and President Obama have already decided that he won't.
For more than a year now, across thousands of miles in all 50 states, tens of millions of Americans have made their voices heard. Today, I just want to add mine. I want to congratulate Hillary Clinton on making history as the presumptive Democratic nominee for President of the United States.
Obama announced his endorsement for Hillary Clinton shortly after meeting with Bernie Sanders. Ouch. Let's play again. In fake news, Clinton only won in California because of voter suppression and election fraud, much like what was reported in Massachusetts, Arizona, New York, and most of the other states where Clinton supposedly won. According to the U.S. Daily Politics, Sanders could have won California, but 2/3 of his votes aren't counted. Even the LA Times accidentally covered this fake news, reporting 2.5 million votes haven't been counted in California. In addition to that, people in California, as in other states, are reporting election machines that won't allow them to vote for the candidate they chose. Here's something you won't see in the real news. Seems pretty fishy to me. Are the media and DNC trying to manufacture this election? CommonDreams.org reported. Christina Bellatoni tweeted, the images in this email are labeled Secret Win. If you look closely at the top of the browser, this web page is labeled Secret Win, and it is dated 2 days before the election in California. Now that's some fake news for you. Will the DNC honor the rules and proceed with a contested convention? According to The Hill, the DNC avoids calling Clinton the presumptive nominee. The Democratic National Committee has not labeled Hillary Clinton as the party's presumptive nominee, despite recognition from the president, a state party, and the media that she has amassed enough delegates to secure the presidential nomination. Unless they change the rules, this will be what is called a brokered or contested convention. But the news media will probably call it an open convention to make it sound more happy. So as long as Bernie Sanders doesn't concede, he still has a chance to convince the superdelegates to change their mind.
I look forward to the full counting of the votes in California, which I suspect will show a much closer vote than the current vote tally. I spoke briefly to Secretary Clinton on Tuesday night, and I congratulated her on her very strong campaign. I look forward to meeting with her in the near future to see how we can work together to defeat Donald Trump and to create a government which represents all of us and not just the 1%. Thank you very much.
That doesn't count. Let's play again. In real news, there's nothing wrong with your air, water, or food supply. Everything's fine. Quick, look at Donald Trump. Look what he just did.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Very funny media. I'm not falling for that. As I was saying, the disaster in Flint, Michigan is completely isolated. Or is it? According to the New York Times, Flint is in the news, but lead poisoning is even worse in Cleveland.
We're building a wall. He's a Mexican.
Hey, get that clip out of here. Cut that out. Who's running the graphics? This is my show. We're not doing that.
We're not acting clearly. We're not talking clearly. We've got problems. If we don't get tough, and if we don't get smart and fast, we're not going to have our country anymore. There will be nothing, absolutely nothing left.
Did he really say that? We need to stop this guy. If he's president, there won't be anything left. What was I talking about? I forgot. Let's play again. In fake news, Trump is not the only one building a wall. Clinton is building one to keep out the Americans. According to Newsmax, a security wall will surround the Democratic convention in Philly. Because what says democracy better than a giant wall between the voters and the candidates? Trump supporters would be proud. Actually, Trump supporters have a lot in common with Sanders supporters. I mean, other than the racism, fascism, bigotry, idiocy, homophobia, and xenophobia. But the good stuff, like, both sides want to end corporate welfare. Well, that may be the only thing. Let's build on that. Let's try to find common ground. We aren't going to make any progress through anger and hatred and fear. Those are the tools of the war machine.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
The media constantly reminds us of so many things to be afraid of that we eventually compartmentalize those fears until the only fear left is the fear of speaking up. People like Trump only exist when people vote out of fear and not out of conscience. Democracy Now! Interviewed Jill Stein about the politics of fear.
This politics of fear has actually delivered everything we were afraid of. All the reasons you were told you had to vote for the lesser evil because you didn't want the massive Wall Street bailouts, the offshoring of our jobs, the meltdown of the climate, the endless expanding wars, the attack on immigrants, all that we've gotten by the droves because we allowed ourselves to be silenced. Silence is not what democracy needs. Right now we have an election where even the supporters of Hillary Clinton, the majority don't support Hillary. They just oppose Donald Trump.
Fear and anger are the motivations of conservatives. If you consider yourself a progressive, you probably are motivated by your conscience. We need to differentiate ourselves from the politics of fear. The flames of fear and anger are very difficult to extinguish once they have been ignited. If you were waiting for Sanders to turn into Superman or Jesus, wake up. He's a human being, flawed as we all are. There are going to be times when you don't agree with everything that he says and does. That doesn't mean he's betraying you or the movement. The important thing is that he has already effectively challenged the establishment, and he's going to keep challenging them, just as he has for his entire political career. Regardless of what happens next, let's use this momentum to occupy every aspect of public life and pull it back to the center, and maybe even a bit more to the left, if that's not asking too much. Let's infiltrate school boards and state offices. Let's put burners in Congress and the legislature and Wall Street so we can continue this movement from all sides. As a species, we are going to need to drastically rethink our way of life to escape this parasitic behavior of consume and destroy. The old ways of thinking are no longer sustainable, and if we don't fix it, things will only continue to get worse. Let's follow Bernie's lead and take this fight all the way to the convention. If millions of people show up to Philadelphia, the political revolution will be unstoppable. Join us July 25th through 28th as we provide daily coverage of the Democratic National Convention in Philly. This coverage will lead up to a documentary about the political revolution. We are going to need a media revolution to cover this political revolution. And that's the real fake news. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to the channel.
Real fake, real fake, real fake, real fake news.
The Real Fake News is brought to you in part by the generous support of viewers like you. If you like this program and would like to see more programs like these, please show your support by clicking on the support button in the Walking Eye TV channel on YouTube and donating any amount. Another way you can contribute to the show and help fund our documentary is to click on the link for our Film the Revolution in Philly fundraiser. I would like to thank my volunteer crew in Los Angeles, Ankur Patel, Scott Glasser, and Hector Zamora, and members of my Philadelphia crew, Flora Susili, Lee Hobart, James Waltz, and Rich Haber, for helping make this show possible.